I had time, so I properly sat down and researched every single archetype in the entire game and found all the ones that have appeared in the anime in some sort of fashion. And yeah, I'll be looking at all of them for eventually. There aren't many of them left, so yeah, until we get to the coup de grace of the collection pack 2020, I'll satiate your archetype analysis needs this way. The archetype that I said I was gonna look at today is coming. It's the longest archetype out of the ones I have prepared for now. But anyway, today we'll be looking at a fan favorite tech archetype consisting of only trap cards, that being the Solemn archetype, which was used in almost all of the Yu-Gi-Oh animes up until this point. It was used, first off, it was used in Duel Monsters. I know it was used in 5Ds. I'm not too sure about Zexal. In Arc 5 I think it was used, and Reigns I think it wasn't used, and in GX I also think it wasn't used. However, the first duelist who used this archetype was Keith Howard when he was brainwashed by Merrick during his duel against Yugi, the regular one. So yeah, that's also a filler episode. Was the most ironic thing of all. But yeah, he's the first one to activate a Solemn card. So yeah, the archetype consists of 7 cards, 3 of which see constant regular play and have been members of the ban list from time to time, while one of them is also very good, but has a bit more specific activation conditions compared to the other 3, while the last 3 are yeah, that's the best way to describe them. Anyway, let's start with the poster boy of the archetype, that being Solemn Judgment, the counter trap. Yeah, most of them are counter traps. The only one that aren't are the last 3. Well, the one of those last 3 is a counter trap, but the other 2 aren't. Anyway, what does this do is when a monster would be summoned in any way, or a spell or trap card is activated, pay half your life points, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Yeah, this card was banned for a very long time, but in the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh! This didn't see absolutely no play at all, because paying half your life points, which most of the time would be 4,000, didn't seem like all that appealing to just negate one thing. Until people quickly realized how powerful this effect can be, as it can stop literally anything except monster effect negations, but trust me, we have those counters as well. So yeah, Solemn Judgment saw pretty hefty times on the ban list, on the banned department, until it came back to limited, and nowadays it's unlimited, so yeah, you can play 3 if you wanted to, although 1 is perfectly fine, like some of the other cards we'll get into later. A very nice successor to this lineup, we have Solemn Strike, our next counter trap. When a monster would be special summoned or a monster effect activated, you can pay 1500 life points, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. This one works basically on monsters being special summoned and monster effects, which did not work on the Solemn Judgment. Does it make it better? Well, they're useful in the same way. I see the most optimum ratio I see this card ran is by 2 copies, because, well, it's a very nice effect and it doesn't hurt to negate a monster effect or a special summon every now and then, since those kinds of conditions will be met all the freaking time. So yeah, Solemn Strike is a fantastic card and you should always consider taking it in. Much like the next card, Solemn Warning. When a monster would be summoned anyway, or when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated and it includes an effect that special summons a monster, pay 2000 life points, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy it. Yeah, this one also saw some time on the limited list, just like Solemn Strike, which I forgot to mention, because it's vastly more powerful. It requires 500 more life points as cost in order to activate it, but what you get in the spectrum of negations is entirely worth it. Being able to negate any form of summon or any spell or trap is, again, the level of Solemn Judgment, and a monster and an activated effect which includes summoning a monster, which, okay, doesn't negate every monster effect, but it at least gives you some space to work with, since monster effects can most often summon other monsters, and those are some of the most frequently ran and most valued monsters in the game. So yeah, Solemn Warning was limited for a very long time. I think it's limited to this day, I'm not sure. So yeah, run it definitely in your deck. And now for the fourth one, which is powerful but does not see that much play because of its more specific activation condition, that being Solemn Scolding. If this is the only set card in your spell and trap zone, when a monster would be summoned, or when a spell card, trap card, or monster effect is activated, pay 3000 life points, negate the summoner activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So yeah, this negates absolutely everything, but it has some very harsh restrictions to it. And first of all, it requires a page of 3000 life points, which is one of the one of the highest costs in the game if we ignore Cyberstein. I think Cyberstein actually has the highest cost of 5000 life points in order to do something in the game, and it needs to be the only set card in your spell and trap zone. I mean, it isn't so hard to pull off if you only run this one trap card, or the most trap cards you run in your deck are hand traps which can be activated from the hand, such as Evenly Matched or Impermanence. Then this would be no problem. But yeah, this is definitely worth running, but be careful with the ratios and when you use it, because of this harsh setting that it can only be that it can be the only set card in your spell and trap zone. And now for the weird stuff. First of which we have Solemn Wishes, which is a continuous trap, which only increases your life points by 500 each time you draw a card. So yeah, this saw play in some Nurse Burn decks ages and ages ago, but nowadays it's not worth the effort at all. Did I say Nurse Burn decks? Yeah, and those too, but I meant to say Fire Princess burn decks. Yeah, that's what I meant to say earlier. But yeah, I would not recommend running this at all. Next up we have Balance of Judgment. If your opponent controls more cards than the combined number of cards in your hand and that you control, draw cards equal to the surplus. You can only activate one Balance of Judgment per turn. If this was a quick play, then I would deduce that it would be very powerful and see the ban list pretty quickly. But as it is now, it's a very questionable one-off. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a very, very powerful draw effect, but the fact that it's a trap and the activation conditions, yeah, you're not going to be getting draw that powerful, since even if you go first and get rid of all cards in your hand, the opponent might do that as well, so you won't be performing that well unless you're playing against an Exodia deck or maybe even an Artifact deck. So yeah, run by preference in my opinion. And the final card is Ultimate Providence. I have no idea how this card falls into this archetype, but it does. Anyway, when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated, discard the same type of card, monster, spell, or trap, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This is basically the counter trap version of Dark Paladin's effect, except no, the Arcana Knight Joker. I keep mixing those two up. But yeah, if you really feel like pulling this effect off, just play Arcana Knight Joker, because it's that much better. It's a continuous effect. It's not it doesn't require you to waste spaces in your main deck. So yeah. But anyway, time for the grades. Everything gets a 1 out of 3 except for the versatility, which gets a high 3 out of 3 just because of the sheer power scope of the Solemn Judgment, Strikes, Warning, and Scolding. So yeah, and the fact that they are extremely splashable in basically all decks you can think of really puts the power of these cards into perspective. So yeah, that was the Solemn archetype. There will be more. There will be one more archetype that is based around activating trap cards. I won't unveil what it is until we get to it, but it is going to be fun. We have how many after this? 6 more archetypes after this. Yeah. Until the two more archetypes from Collection Pack 2020 come out. So yeah, that is it for Solemns. Like I already said, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more vids and updates. Comment, like, and subscribe. And as usual, I'll upload the next vid whenever I can. See you all. Have a good day and peace.